Howdy everyone. Before I get into the tier list, I want to make it clear that this is just my opinion, and because I call one character worse than another doesn't mean you can't play them. In fact, one of the main characters I play is Taff, who I think is really weak at the moment, but I'll get into that later. This video will break down what I think is good and bad about each character, and why they ended up where they are. Before we begin, I'd like to thank you guys so much for 27,000 subscribers. I'm growing extremely quickly, and I'm super close to 30k already. So genuinely, thank you. Lastly, I'd like to thank my wonderful members of the channel. Thank you so much Blitzkrieg, Springly, Elixir Us, Life, Tijabe, The Fake Spaghetti, Roger, Spectral Filmer, and Winsita for your guys' amazing support. Now, on with the video. First of all, as I've said in the intro, just because a character is bad doesn't mean you shouldn't play them. In fact, I encourage y'all to push a character to their limits. It's the only way they'll improve. And lastly, I want to say how I'll be ranking survivors is going to be relevant on how they are in the meta. I don't care that as a survivalist, Noob is an extremely good character, he doesn't have any influence in a game. So yeah, of course, we start with Noob. Noob just received some changes that nerfs him in Last Man Standing, but overall improves their survivability in general. With their cola you can create distance prior to a chase starting, and if you get a decent window of opportunity you can use it while being chased. As for their Slate skin, it's so much better now. You can use it practically whenever you want, and killers that try punishing it may sometimes miss their opportunity and give you a free speed boost. Okay, bye. Like, what? Their Ghost Burger, however, is still extremely weak, especially with the nerfs in Last Man Standing that prevents Undetectable from working. Overall, their sustainability is amazing for solo play, and they can freely do generators since they can't really help their team otherwise. Unfortunately though, their lack of team play is what makes them overall weak, and since they don't really have any influence on the game aside from wasting the killer's time, I have to put them in C tier. Because of these changes though, I've been playing them a lot more lately, and they're honestly super fun. Next is 007 and 7. He can use his clone to divert attention from the killer, avoid chase, body block, conceal his aura, and prevent minions from chasing him. His cool GUI is an amazing way to avoid confrontation with the killer during the round and consistently make it to Last Man Standing. Here's the thing though, he also struggles surviving on his own. None of his moves really give him any self-sustain, and he has absolutely no utility to help his team survive. So for that reason, I'm putting 07 in last place on the list, in D tier. Now we move on to Sentinels, Shilleski being the first of them. With his sword, you can protect teammates that happen to pass by, or protect yourself with it. It grants a little bit of resistance, so if you're hit during the swing, you don't take as much damage. On top of that, using it to protect teammates allows you to use your second ability, the Fried Chicken. It forces the killer to decide between the person they're currently chasing or letting the Shilleski heal. Overall, Shilleski is actually really good at protecting people, but after all the nerfs, his stun doesn't actually feel that detrimental for the killer. I'm going to put him at the very top of B, since he's not really bad at all, but he doesn't really excel in anything particular. He's very much the bread and butter character. After Shilleski, Guest is most likely the most played Sentinel in the game, and for good reason. His extra health, block, and charge all allow him to sponge hits for teammates, and paired with an Elliot you can stall until the end of time. The only issue he suffers from is missing his abilities. Missing your block makes you extremely vulnerable, and that's an understatement. That's kind of where his skill comes in, never missing a block, but that's way easier said than done. So, potentially speaking, he's S tier, but I'm going to put him on the top of A tier, because it just feels like the right position for him. Next is Chance. Chance is a surprisingly difficult character, but is by far the most valuable Sentinel to have on a team. With the ability to have a natural 130 health and a rage stun, he's both extremely hard to kill and an important target to take out. Otherwise, he'll pester you if you do anything else. His only actual downsides are, well, he's luck-based. Sometimes you just die because of the weakness you've been stacking, or because you weren't lucky enough to roll high health, or your gun just backfires with a 5% chance. Yeah, I hear you.
Watch this, ready?
However, the odds are mostly in his favor, as you're more likely to get the positive result rather than the negative ones. For these reasons, I'm putting him in the bottom of S tier, since no killer really has any answers to his range, and luck is his only actual downside. Last up for the Sentinels is 2 Time. 2 Time's rework turned them into an amazing Sentinel, and debatably the best. The only skill ceiling they really have is landing backstabs consistently. After that, you have 120 health total, a 3.5 second stun with an extremely fast windup, and on top of that stun you heal 20 health. This makes 2-time survivability one of, if not the best survivability in the game. However, prioritizing 2 times before they get their ablation is their downfall, and if they make any mistakes they pay for it drastically via death. Also, they struggle being supportive for the team, because the only real way to help is if the killer is distracted. For these reasons, I'm putting them in A tier, because their intense survivability makes them the best solo survivor in the game, but they can't help the team as much, so I don't think they belong in S tier. Finally, we're on to supports. Let's start with Elliot. Elliot is an insanely strong survivor. He has the ability to quickly heal another survivor 35 health with one of his pizzas, and an on-command burst of speed for a moment, allowing him to get huge distance. His only downside is his low health, being 80. With good team coordination, Elliot can make survivors invincible, and if your teammates defend you, the game is already over for the killer. That being said, Elliots are usually the first survivor to die, since leaving them in the round is just a terrible mistake for the killer. If an Elliot can live for as long as possible though, he might just be the most influencing survivor in the game. For this reason, I'm putting him in the top of S tier. His value towards the team and sustainability with his rush hour is incredible. Next up, Builderman. He has the best ability in the game, his sentry gun. The sentry makes every killer in the game slower than a survivor so long as they're being shot by it, which creates actual infinites on every map. On top of that, the cooldown for it goes down while it's still active, and it's only a 45-second cooldown. He also has the ability to heal himself with a dispenser, as well as teammates so long as they're nearby. His pressure creates completely unwinnable scenarios, and you don't even need good teamwork to make him shine in a game. The only actual downside to Builderman is the fact that he only has 90 health, which I gotta say is way too high when Elliot only has 80. For these reasons, he's going in the number 1 spot of the tier list, all the way on top of S. Then we have Duskar, a super duper underrated survivor. Duskar plays similarly to Chance, staying as far away from the killer as possible while still finding good angles to stun them and support the team. In Dusakar's case though, he only needs line of sight and can practically be anywhere. His beam provides both a speed boost for survivors and slows down the killer, which also has a short 21-second cooldown, and this extends chases by a lot. On top of that, his barrier is great for letting the survivor being chased get their stamina back as well as distance, since getting hit with the barrier doesn't really matter. Unfortunately, he completely lacks self-sustain, has only 90 health, and both of his abilities slow him down and expose his location, making it extremely easy to kill unless your team helps. Because of how squishy he is, I'm putting him on the very top of A tier, but unfortunately, he's just not S tier territory. Lastly, Taff. Taff can place tripwires to slow down the killer and reveal their location to nearby survivors. He can also throw down bombs that disorient the killer. But the bomb barely does anything at all, and smacking it will completely negate the effects. Not to mention, the effects can backfire onto you if you stand too close. The only redeeming thing he has is his tripwires, since the slowness can actually help a lot sometimes, but they're also destructible and break from just about everything. After this recent update, survivability is a lot better, increasing his health from 90 to 100. Still though, Taff doesn't directly influence the game, and he more so sets up traps that teammates have to find and play around, because he can't really set up near a killer unless the killer is just oblivious. So, to be honest, Taff is in C tier for me. Above noob, but god, it really disappoints me that a tripwire is more effective than a trip mine. That concludes the survivor tier list. Now for killers. First, of course, we start with Jason. Everyone knows my opinion on Jason by now. I think he's a drastically weak killer and there's no redeeming him for me. His abilities are all just severely inferior to other killers, and against survivors like Elliot, Builderman, and Duskar, he doesn't have any answers. He goes in B. I'd put him lower, but I feel like that's just disrespectful. Before I move on, most of my critiques of Jason come from playing against him, not playing as him. I've had huge success as the killer, and when I'm against him, even more so. I don't want to rant on about this, so I'm just gonna move on. If you guys want to see a continuation of my Jason video, I'll be more specific this time around and not just yap about the first stuff that comes to mind. Next is Cool Kid. Cool Kid is surprisingly versatile. With his high run speed and extremely quick attacks, he can kill survivors quick, and is honestly hard to play around since you have to predict what he's doing more than react to what they're doing. For reasons like this, people think Cool Kid is the best killer in the game, which I can totally see the perspective of, but I think Cool Kid lacks the potential of other killers, and despite how powerful he is, I'm going to say he's easily not the best killer. I'm putting him in A tier. And now, we talk about our next killer, 1x4. Still don't have this killer level 100, but I'm close, and damn I love this killer. 1x4 kinda goes like this. If you miss too much, you instantly lose. If you land everything, you instantly win. Now obviously, you're not landing everything, but you can get to a point where you almost land every projectile, and so long as you're doing that, you can fairly easily win games with him. I've had super close calls with 1x4, where I thought I would lose, but I get 4 kills and the tables turn quick. 1x4 has the strongest last man standing out of every killer, because his minions bring such gigantic map coverage if he kills survivors in the right spots. He also has incredibly high damage potential and speed, and with enough skill can be an absolute menace to lobbies. With all that said, I'm also putting him in A tier. To me, I really can't get an exact spot for him. Sometimes I feel like he's way better than Cool Kid, but on some maps he's just so hard to win with. So in this case, think of 1x4's and Cool Kid's positions on the tier list tied. I think they're both respectively great in their own ways. And last, but definitely not least, John Doe. With his abilities to completely cut off parts of the map, lock you in prison if you go the wrong way, and get a speed boost for getting stunned, he has the highest potential out of the other 3 killers, and with enough practice, can easily dominate lobbies. They keep nerfing this killer over and over, but he's always been on top, and I don't think he's ever getting down anytime soon. Obviously, I'm putting John Doe in S tier, because on almost every map, he has checkmate scenarios that the survivors can't prevent. With that said, I see a lot of people often say John Doe is the worst in the game, which is just so wrong to me. Please enlighten me on what makes John weak. And while you're at it, let me know what you guys agree or disagree on with this video in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.